Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm really excited to see what the runes have to say for this week ahead. And of course, thank you guys for being patient. I was actually out and about the past 2 weeks. I was out in the West Coast, checking out some of the cities there, seeing some friends, so I was doing my thing. But now I'm back and I'm excited to see what the runes have to say. And of course, happy August, happy Leo season. I'm sure that has been a really great change for a lot of us, especially because I know that this past Cancer season probably has had a lot of emotional energies involved with it. We probably were diving deeper into the emotional valences that we have available to us, perhaps in a way that was slightly uncomfortable, especially when it came to enforcing our boundaries or being more present with ourselves and what we're actually feeling in the moment. Moving into Leo season a couple of days ago has been really beautiful because for me I have experienced a greater awareness of my sense of self, as is the realm of Leo. I've also encountered some really fun and slightly, powerful emotions, a lot of them around anger, frustration, and sometimes we have a negative connotation of these emotions. But they are often ways in which they inform us. They inform us of our boundaries. They inform us about the ways in which we relate to the world around us, and perhaps how those relationships can be shifted in order to better account and better remain, to remain more aware of our emotions and our feelings. So basically, we get angry for a reason. And that Leo energy of bright sunshine and strength feels really beautiful. And so I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of us are experiencing certain elements in which we're feeling frustrated, whether it's in our work environment or our friendships or our romantic partnerships. And it really is about taking that anger, allowing it to translate into something more compassionate. Compassion doesn't mean throwing out your anger. It means utilizing it so that it can become a foundation for the justice that you seek in your life, or at least to express your emotions in a way that is more aware of what you are feeling and what you need. So, let's see what the runes have to say. That was interesting energy. So while I was doing the little pre-casting meditation, I saw Yefen. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she is an old goddess from the Norse tradition, the Nordic tradition. And if I'm not mistaken, she's the goddess of the plow, the goddess of the harvest. And at one point in one of the old sagas or sayas, Odin had talked about Yefen as if she was the one who also knew the fates of men similar to him, which is very rare because not everyone knew that, right? So she's an extremely powerful goddess, extremely powerful feminine deity. And the energy that I felt behind it was the plow and the oxen and this really strong sense of, like I saw this woman, presumably her, with the whip as she charred made the oxen go faster, and they were plowing, and there was this feeling of great unearthing, of powerful shifting, of not being afraid to rock the boat, so to speak. So let's see what the runes have to say. So as you guys know, I step in the center, radiate outward, and see what's up. And it's interesting because it's fallen in such a way that they're all equidistant from the center. So what I take for that is that this is going to be the energy for the rest of the week, rather than having points in which we will experience this energy it feels like the rest of the week is going to share a lot of the elements of what we're experiencing here. So I'll just start on the left and go clockwise and see what's happening. So we have ehwas here, which is really nice. This is the yew tree. And usually when I see this rune, it means transition. It means change. It means setting forth on a new journey. So I wouldn't be surprised if this August bears a lot of new opportunities, new experiences, or perhaps an invitation to experience an old dream that you haven't given yourself the chance to go after. And this week feels like that. So it feels very like cross the boundary, like do it, run across the doorway, like I don't know, escape, do it, have fun. Like it feels very transitional. It feels like a transition. And I find it interesting because as this transition happens, right, we also have Isa here. And Isa is the rune of ice. So for all intents and purposes, right, ehwas here, connecting to the sense of transition and an element of moving from one space to the next, and yet seeing Isa here, which is all about stillness, softness, freezing, being in place, right? It feels like we're going to take this transition, or this week is going to be a very powerful transitional week for us. And once we make these changes in our life, or once we take that first step across the threshold, it's going to feel very still, very solid. It's kind of like the image that I'm seeing is that moment that you step outside the door of your home as you begin your journey. And the moment that you step out, you know, when you take that moment and you're looking around just to get your bearings and you're still for a hot second because you know this is going to be a really big journey. It feels like that. It feels like you just walked out the door, where this week is this moment of you getting into that space. Perhaps what I'm seeing is like applying for new jobs, or, you know, saying the things that you wish you could have said to people, or expressing your emotions in ways that you may not have allowed yourself to do so before because of a fear of conflict or avoiding that conflict. Or perhaps for some of us, I'm seeing coming face to face with ourselves and pushing towards a greater awareness of who we are as people. Maybe in your creative work, or perhaps in your interpersonal relationships, whatever it may be. But once you take that step, there's going to be a moment where you say, wow, wait, did I actually do that? Wait, is this actually happening? And then this stillness is going to come through, right? And then we also have ingwas here, which is all about grounding and centering. So it feels like once you take that moment to pause. So during this week, allow yourself moments of pause to reflect on the things that you have accomplished up until that point, because that's going to give you an opportunity to ground yourself in what you already know is true. Because sometimes when we do push our boundaries, when we do say things, or when we do experience or try something new that's beyond what we would normally try, oftentimes we have doubts or insecurities, or something that comes into the mind that tells you, oh, you know, maybe I shouldn't have done that, or perhaps I should have tried a different route. But what this is suggesting is that when you do make that decision, cross that threshold, and have that moment of reflection, ground yourself into what you have accomplished rather than the doubts that may come up in that moment. We also have Algis that fell on its side, which I find very curious, because Algis is the rune in which we connect to our higher selves and connect to a sense of ecstasy, a sense of overwhelmingness, and it is the rune of boundary making. So to see it on its side, when it's upright, that's usually the protection, it's the connection to the higher self. When I see it in Merkstaff position, I usually experience that as like a lack of boundaries, or a return to a deeper sense of ecstasy, which sometimes can be great and can be a good thing to experience. But if we're not prepared for it, it can sometimes be overwhelming. You know, that saying that if you're not prepared for your blessings, they sometimes become curses. If that is a saying. If not, that just came to my head. Feel that. But when I see it on its side, it feels to me that we are being asked this week to manage our boundaries, to understand them more, to see where we have boundaries in our lives, why do we have them there, and do we need to reconfigure them or rework them, right? Because we also have perithro here, but it fell downwards. Now usually perithro would look like this, and then merkstaff would be the opposite, but to see it in any other position, of course, allows for a different interpretation. So when I see perithro facing downward, which perithro is the lot cup, so to see it downward feels like you tossed your dice, right? It feels like you allowed yourself to throw the dice forward, to let them fall across the ground. So it feels to me that this week is going to be a lot about risk-taking as well, and allowing ourselves to roll the die, to say what we need to say, to do what we need to do, to apply for what we need to apply for, despite the doubts and insecurities that may arise. And to just try it, because life is about risk. If you are not taking risks in your life, then perhaps you may not be living. And that's just the phrase that came to my mind. So I hope that resonated for you guys. It seems like we have a very powerful reading here that fell in a star. So some of us may be Wiccans, or some of us may be, people who work with magic. So it may be time for you this week to do a little spell work as well, if that resonates or if that calls for you. So I hope this resonates for you guys. I hope it brought you some clarity and gave you a sense of what's coming up for the week ahead. I'm really excited to see how things pan out, because I can see what this is meaning for me. And I think you'll see it next week. So thank you guys for joining. Like and subscribe. Share the message. I think the runes are really fun, and I'm really grateful to be able to share this practice with you, because I think it's new, it's inviting, it's something that I don't see many people do. So I hope that you like it, and thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Again, thank you for your patience about the past 2 weeks, because your boy was on vacation, and I'll see you guys next week here on the channel. All right? Bye, everyone.